So this is your ultimate guide to how to play the keyboard in Garageband for iPad. So first of all, what we need to do is we navigate to the home screen and we're going to find our way to keyboard. Clicking or tapping on there will allow you to get into the view here, and you'll see there's a different options. You'll see that this particular view will take you straight into the chord view, but selecting the chords button on the right hand side will instantly take you back to the more familiar piano view as well. And that's really useful because we'll go through each of these features in time. To change or select a sound is very simple. Tap or click if you've got a mouse on the symbol of the grand piano, and here you will see all of the different instruments. You've got here on the left all the keyboard instruments, then you've got some Alchemy synth instruments. You'll then be able to go through different types of those. You then go back to the main categories and then go back to the next, which will be synth classics, synth bass, leads, pads. All these keyboard instruments are included, and there is an absolute plethora of these. But just for simplicity, we'll go back to keyboards and we'll stick with grand piano. Click off that or tap off that to go, and then you're back to the playing environment. And you tap or swipe the keys to play the melodies and the chords. In this part here, you've got sustain. You can tap it or you can click and drag, and it will then hold the sustain on. And it will then basically act like the piano pedal, and it will allow you to get sustained long notes. You can deselect that so it locks and unlocks. Hold or lock the sustain note to control the holding of the notes, and for organ sounds, you can use the rotation switch instead. So keyboard options, you can change the layout and the size by clicking on the keyboard symbol here. It gives you the option to do 2 different keyboards at once. You can also go to a smaller keyboard for either younger hands, larger keys, wider keyboard, and you can choose between single or double. So this doesn't have to be frightening. For a first time user, they can just have larger keys, fewer keys. And then below that, you can change what's called the velocity, which is how much you tap the screen will cause a loud and quiet sound. So in other words, if the control is really gentle, then the sound will be much quieter. So if you want that to be on, you toggle this on and it will give you that option. But for newbies or younger learners, you can deselect this, you tap it and it will make the sound, and that's probably going to be straightforward. Underneath then are key controls, and it shows the controls to set the result of left-right finger movements of the keyboard. So you allow yourself to be able to toggle that on and off if you wish to. Next, we're going to go to the arpeggiator, and the arpeggiator is this one here. Now it allows you to then cycle up and down the octaves. So for example, if I was to play one note, which I can just do here, it'll cycle up 3 octaves using that one single note, which is G. But if I was to have more than one, if I was to have a full chord, it'll play those 3 notes cycling up 3 octaves as well. And you can change whether you want to be able to have them as played. So in other words, if I put one, then the next, or you can have them in different versions. So you can have them random, you can go down the ways, up and down. It's a really nice way to get lots of effects. And of course, you can change the rhythm of these. So these are written in sort of mathematical terms. A quarter note is the same as 1 beat. An 8th note is the same as a quaver. 16th is semi-quaver. 32 note is demi-semi-quaver, so you can get much shorter sounds, and then of course you go into your dotted and triplets as well. So you can have a real nice play with that very easily. Next to the keyboard view is the scale view, and here you can change what kind of harmony you want, what kind of key you would like to be in, whether it's going to be a major key, all the different minor keys, world keys as well, unusual keys. You can have a look at all these different options and change that if you're using a piece of music that would involve you in doing that too. Next then, you've got the glissando and the scroll. So if you tap this button in the middle, glissando then turns to scroll, and if you scroll, you can move the keyboard left and right to be able to get higher and lower pitches. And if you click that again, glissando simply allows you to go up and down like that, which is really nice. On the left hand side here is your octave control. So for example, if you want to go from say a standard low note, you want to go a bit higher, tapping the octave control lifts it 8 notes higher, and again, and you can go quite high if you really want to, if your hearing can handle that. And if you do not like this or just want to go back to where you were normally, tap in the middle will take you back to your home. So it's quite straightforward to be able to change that as well. So in terms of the piano then, you can change your sound. So we've covered most of these aspects for the piano sound. If you want to go into the Alchemy synth sounds then, we can have a look at some really nice 8-bit retro 80s sounds. And here the view will change quite considerably. And this is worth knowing because you might get, as Garageband does like to, save the last view when you open up that instrument. You might get some children going, what, where am I? What, this isn't a piano? Or they might get a bit confused as to what it is they're using. One way to deal with that is just to simply tap back out to the instrument view and then click into the standard view for the piano keyboard, and it will then bring you back in. This time, as you'll notice, there are some dots along the bottom here. And that then tells you then have to swipe across to reach some new features, and we'll go through them from left to right. First of all is the pitch and the modulation wheel. So you can see the pitch wheel raises the pitch up and down. The modulation wheel, listen to how this sounds. So you can hear that changes the sound type as well. And in the middle, you have got some touchpads. And as I'm holding a note, you can see that it affects the frequencies and all the fun stuff on the right hand side. And as we can scroll across, we can see that we've got 8 different dials: robotic, cutoff, arpeggio mode, thin, portamento, resonance, arpeggio rate, and arpeggio octave. So porto means portamento, and when you increase this, you'll be able to slide between them. That's not a particularly wonderful sound, so maybe we can change the sound and have a bit more of a demonstration. So let's go back here. So the portamento allows you to sort of slide between the notes. So let's change from 8-bit memory to something a bit more tonal. So let's go 70s synth. Sounds like this. So you can have a lot of fun with that. And as we swipe over to the right then, they've got something called the X and Y pads. You can change the sound parameters by dragging the pucks on the X and Y pads. So that would sound a bit like this. So over on the right hand side, you see you can attack, delay, sustain, and release. These are just different ways to shape a sound. And as you hold that down, you can use the different sound types. So that gives you more of a kind of flute sound. And on the right, it gives you something called low pass modulation. So basically you can cut out different frequencies there. You'll see below here then, you've got the octave, which we can then reset, sustain, slide along to then sustain. If not, then we can just slide it back to standard. This next one is really interesting because if you click on this, it takes you back to what you would say the standard sound. So it kind of resets everything. The next one, I absolutely love this feature. And this really involves about proximity to the camera of the iPad. And if you've never used this before, clicking on this happy face will allow you to change the sound parameters, opening and closing your mouth or being close to the iPad. And as you can see, you see that the mouth is opening wide when I go a bit further away like this. So you can actually go, wow. You hear a little slight wah in the background, and that's just by using my mouth. So again, for someone who doesn't really want to or can't use their hands, having the mouth is a really good option to have. And of course now it's tracking my mouth, so I will not stop talking. So we can switch that off. Glissando then, scroll like before, and pitch. Now pitch. Gives you that portamento sliding between the different ones as opposed to the standard. So you can actually miss out certain notes, so it will only play whatever you can hear between them. So it's a really nice feature for doing that. Sometimes arpeggiator is not included, but that's absolutely fine. And likewise with the piano, the chord feature is there as well. Exactly the same controls. And you've got the autoplay as well, so you can have the different features there too. Of the different patterns, tapping with 2 fingers will change one pattern, tapping with 3 fingers will change to another. So we can do this here, we can tap, and it gives you those, and you can cycle through those 4 autoplay features as well. So the Alchemy synth sounds then, Added to the keyboard have your transformation pads, which are these in the middle. And over to the right, you've got the XY pads and also the gyro control, which you can use with your mouth, as we've shown you there before. So that's pretty much it. And it's a really nice way to kind of get people started. But those who are really involved and really want to try and experiment with skills they already have or skills they never even knew that they had, it's a really nice way to get yourself into the world of using the keyboard using Garageband for iPad. Have a look at the keyboard, the smart piano and the Alchemy synth. And if you want to download more sound, you can go to more sounds and then you can get more keyboard sounds from the sound library if your iPad has enough room for it. In the next video, we're going to look at how you can use a sampler in Garageband for iPad, and we'll give you a bit more detail about that. That's this section down here. So join me then in that video, and thanks very much for watching.